Hello everyone. We're going to try to explain the cohesive devices today. This is what we were supposed to be doing if we were still at school. So we'll do it in this way, don't worry. So cohesive devices are a technical word for something that we've been doing all our lives, or at least since we started speaking English or Maltese. They are little tricks with language that speakers and writers use to ensure meaning, to ensure that a text makes sense. And texts or speech make sense if the listener or the reader can see that we're making connections, we're joining the dots. And that's what cohesive devices do. In a way, they join dots. They join one part of a text or one part of a sentence to another. Anyway, this is what I try to explain here. I don't know whether metaphors help you see things better, or I don't know whether they confuse things even more. But if a text or a sentence were a building or a wall, and there's a door in it, then the cohesive device would be that linchpin. Do you see it in the photos? That linchpin on the hinge that joins the door flap to the door jamb. Or if I don't know, if a text were a wall, then the cohesive devices would be the cement that joins the bricks together and ensures that they don't move, they don't fall. Anyway, enough with metaphors. Let's start with the first cohesive device. And by the way, I need to clarify that today we're going to do the grammatical cohesive devices. That means ways of making connections that use grammatical concepts. Actually, we're going to refer a lot to the word classes lessons that we had before the half-yearly exams. So I hope they're still fresh in your head. Or anyway, you can go to the PowerPoints, remember, you have them, study them, refresh your memories. In another clip that I hope to be posting next week, we'll be discussing lexical cohesive devices. Lexical cohesive devices use vocabulary, specific choices of words to create connections. So for instance, if you repeat a word that you repeated before, then you're making a very obvious connection. Or if you use a synonym or an antonym, the opposite of a word used before, then again you're making a connection. So today we're going to concentrate on the grammatical cohesive devices, and we're going to start with the first one, the first type. And we're not surprised to find that it's conjunctions. Very obvious when you think about it. Conjunctions and linking words, I'll try to explain the difference in a minute, glue different parts of a sentence, different parts of a paragraph, and one paragraph with another. Anyway, we sometimes call them transitional words and connectives and so on. You have a few examples there. So conjunctions, the first type of cohesive device. Notice that there's quite, if you look at the middle box, you will see, by the way, I have a pointer, I believe, that I can use. No, I don't have a pointer. I only have a pen and a highlighter. Okay, but I can use the pen, I suppose. Anyway, if we look at these examples here of linking words and conjunctions, we'll see that there's quite a variety, and that actually they belong to two different word classes. So there's and, notice, but they belong to a word class to conjunctions as a word class, and they are coordinating conjunctions. That means they join items or clauses of the same weight. Then there are words like because, if, although, who, which, that. And those are, remember, subordinating conjunctions. You should remember these. Go to the PowerPoint called Other Word Classes and skim through those again. Then there are words here at the end, therefore, then, similarly, for example, that don't really fall in a word class that we have studied. Don't worry, don't worry about that. They're not really in the syllabus, but we should know them because they are cohesive devices. They are linking words. These last four words or phrases can't be used to join clauses together the way the conjunctions are used, but they are used to join sentences to show that there is a connection between one part of a sentence and another. So therefore means there is a cause and effect kind of connection. The same happens with then. Then can also show sequence, so that there was something mentioned before, a step, a stage, an event, and then there was another one. Similarly, or in contrast, for instance, are phrases that show that there is a strong connection between something that we're going to mention very soon and something that we have mentioned before. For example, means that we're speaking generally, just before, and now we're going to be specific. We're going to give an example. Anyway, you have a wider set of examples here, and these are here, what you have here are not conjunctions, but linking words or transitional words and phrases. Anyway, these words are very obvious, as we said, a very obvious example, a very obvious type of cohesive device. They show very clearly that there is a connection between something that we mentioned before and something that we're going to mention very soon. So let's move on to another kind of cohesive device, and we call it reference. As I said, this topic is full of technical terms for very simple little operations that we carry out, little tricks, little strategies that we practice all the time whenever we speak. So, a reference is when we use pronouns in order to show that the pronoun that we're using now is the same as the noun or noun phrase that we mentioned in some other part of the sentence or of the paragraph. And the reference type of cohesive device uses mainly two types of pronouns. Personal pronouns, the third person, that means not I and you and we and you in the plural, but the third person, so he, she, it, they, and obviously then also the object personal pronouns, so him, her, it, and them. Let's move on to an example because I'm sure this is all too abstract. Let's see. So look at the example in the blue box. Our basketball coach is quite strict. She won't hear of us going out the night before a match. Notice we have two sentences, but it's very obvious that the two sentences are about the same person. And what makes that connection clear is the pronoun she. She, that word, shows that the person we're speaking about in the second sentence, the person who won't hear of us going out the night before a match, is the same as the person mentioned in the first sentence, our basketball coach. So our basketball coach is connected to she, and the two sentences are connected. We've ensured cohesion. We've ensured that the person listening to us, or the person reading these two sentences, realize that we're talking about the same person. So that's a reference type of cohesive device, using the personal pronouns. We can also use, because I should have explained in the previous slide. I don't know why I can't go back to the previous slide. Apparently you can't, you can only go forward. That's very surprising. Anyway, we can use personal pronouns, and we can use demonstrative pronouns for the reference type of cohesive device. And this is an example and explanation of how we can use demonstrative pronouns. Remember, the demonstrative pronouns are this, that, these, those. Remember that we mustn't confuse them with demonstrative determiners, which is the same four words used, however, in front of the noun. When we use them in front of the noun, they are determiners. Again, go back to the word classes we went through, we explained before the half yearly. Anyway, look at the example here with demonstrative pronouns as cohesive devices. So this is what we have been waiting for. This is the answer to our prayers. Think of these TV presenters, these compares. So ta-da, that's that kind of moment on stage. Let's all give a thumbs up to Infinitium, or whatever, the phone battery which recharges itself by exposing the phone to the sun. I don't know whether it exists, but it should. So notice this used in the first sentence, this again used in the second sentence, are connected, or rather ensure a connection with the third sentence, which is Infinitium. So notice, by using the demonstrative pronouns, we have ensured that all three sentences there are connected. The audience, the spectators listening to this compare, this presenter, know that all three sentences are referring to the same thing. And this is a reference type of cohesive device using demonstrative pronouns. Let's move on to another type of cohesive device, and it's called identification. And here the only difference is that instead of using pronouns, we use a different word class, determiners. I've just been trying to remind you of the difference, remember, the distinction. So, identification is when we use a determiner to show that the nouns that we are referring to now, that we are using now, have already been mentioned before. And again, it's simpler to just use an example, to just go to the example down here in the pink box. She introduced some students, so notice just any students, some students, Danny, Matt and Kim, to the delights of English linguistics. The students, notice the same students, the ones mentioned in the previous sentence, the students immediately scrambled to change their language option to Korean or whatever. So notice, by using the in front of students, the article, remember that's an article, I have made it clear that I'm talking about the same students mentioned and named in the first sentence. So that is identification as a cohesive device. I have used a determiner, and go to the red box, the burgundy or maroon box. Let me see if the pointer, no, this is the pen, this is the highlighter. Anyway, whatever. Go here remind yourselves of the determiners. I can use the article, this, these, that, those. Usually it's these determiners that come in useful when we're trying to show that this is the same noun phrase mentioned before.